All right. Understanding that we got started a bit later here, and some of you might have to go at around 8-ish. I think we can get it started here. So, yeah, my name's Brennan. I'm a National Student Recruitment Advisor at the University of Calgary. So I travel all over Canada talking to students just like you about why I think the University of Calgary is a great choice for any young person thinking about their future and interested in post-secondary education. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about Calgary, student life at the U of C, the different experiences available for students here, and how you can join. I'm also joined by my colleague Kaylee, who will be in the chat. If you have any questions at any point in time, feel free to enter them through the Q&A feature there, and they can help respond, and we can also help answer some of your questions once the presentation is over. So, yeah, thanks for joining me today. And yeah, without any further ado, we can get started here. Let's see. So, the University of Calgary is located in the heart of southern Alberta and both acknowledges and pays tribute to the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7, which includes the Blackfoot, including the Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai First Nations, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation within Alberta, Nose Hill Métis District 5, and Elbow Métis District 6. So, the University of Calgary it's Canada's entrepreneurial university, which is originally a French word meaning to undertake. So, we like to say that people come to the University of Calgary to start something, whether that's a new project, a new passion, or just a new beginning for themselves. Whatever it is, the University of Calgary is a great place for you to learn, explore, and grow. So pictured here is the University of Calgary itself. It runs kind of from that top road there. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but right there to about there to this edge here to about here. It's actually big enough to have its own postal code, and despite this impressive size, it's actually only 60 years old. Which kind of puts us in an interesting age range for universities, what you sometimes hear referred to as golden age. And among those golden age universities, we actually rank really highly for things like student outcomes and student experience, particularly that 96.3% after graduation employment rate, which I think for a lot of people when they're thinking about sort of university and what they're going to do once they're done their kind of high school education is what field are they going to go into. And I think it's nice to know that the University of Calgary is really a safe pair of hands for helping you transition from the sort of pre-professional academic world into the job force, into whichever field you're interested in. We also enjoy a 95% undergraduate retention rate, which I think really speaks to the quality of the education as well as the student supports available at the U of C. We also enjoy 90 startups, which is more than any other Canadian university over the past 5 years, as well as $588.5 million in external research revenue, or revenue that other kind of organizations or institutions invested in the University of Calgary. So, the university has grown a lot in the years since I first started attending as an undergrad until today. Our commitment to fostering growth and helping our students change the world has always been firm, though. Madison, pictured here on the left, helped to develop a fashion brand for people who need frequent access to IV treatment, as she spent years in and out of hospitals for chronic health conditions, particularly lupus. So she was interested in providing people with clothing that was both dignified and comfortable, while some of our other students, such as Abdu here, are working towards developing a cure for neurodegenerative diseases such as ALS. Emily, pictured third from the left over there, did a research internship partnered with NASA that got to explore things like human bone density, which are some important questions that they're always thinking about in that world of kind of astrophysics and space exploration. So this all kind of ties back into what I was talking about earlier with that idea of starting something, whether it's really like a helpful innovation for disadvantaged people or life-saving the research. The University of Calgary is a great place for you to get started. So, this is kind of a slide I like to share no matter who's watching or kind of where I'm presenting in Canada, because I think it's nice to highlight sort of where Calgary is, even if you're kind of a lifelong resident of Calgary or Alberta. I think it's nice to know that kind of where we're located in the country and also how close we are to other locations. So, it's nice to know that we're, pretty close compared to somewhere like Vancouver or Toronto or Montreal. Obviously, especially if you're already living here. But it's also nice to think about what your other options are and how the University of Calgary sort of measures up to those other schools around Canada. Just kind of nice to know and nice to think about when you're making those decisions there. If you're not already familiar, Alberta is already a really incredibly scenic and exciting province to be living in. We're home to 5 national parks, including Banff and Jasper. Actually pictured here on this slide in that top left there. I think it's Lake Louise. It could be Moraine Lake though, but sometimes you'll hear lakes like that referred to as screensaver lakes since they're so kind of iconic and scenic and often make their way onto the background of desktop wallpapers, which I always think is funny to see kind of out in the wild and be like, hey, I've been there, that's basically in my backyard. We're also home to 5 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, including Dinosaur Provincial Park and Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump. These are all just a short drive from Calgary or the University of Calgary campus and make for some excellent day trips or getaways, which is really a great part of the kind of undergraduate experience in the University of Calgary. Adding to that are some nice things like our zero provincial sales tax, which means transactions in Alberta can be up to 5 or 7% cheaper than they would be elsewhere in Canada, which, again, even if you're from Alberta, I think this is nice to know just to kind of sort of situate Alberta within the other provinces around Canada and recognize our great sort of advantages here in the province. So I think there's kind of between that zero provincial sales tax and those ski resorts or national parks, I think there's a really nice sort of work-life balance sort of implicit there for you, which is pretty cool. It's easy to take advantage of those ski resorts because we have that zero provincial sales tax, and also because we lead Canada in job creation for high-earning positions, which is pretty cool. So, moving on a little bit to think about Calgary itself, it is a really unique and exciting place for a young person to live in and really develop themselves for their future. We enjoy 333 days of sunshine, which makes us the sunniest major city in Canada every year, which is pretty nice. We also have the #2 lowest cost of living in Canada, which to me really helps to contribute to that sort of overall sunny disposition because it's so sunny out all the time. And it's really easy to take advantage of things like those 96 kilometers of bikeway and pathway networks throughout the city. And pictured here is, of course, the beautiful Bow River Valley, which you can check out pretty quickly. So, we also enjoy the #1 highest personal income per capita of Canada's major cities, as well as the #1 most head offices and small businesses per capita in Canada, as well as a really high rate of what we call volunteerism. So, to me, what that says is kind of no matter what you're interested in, there's an opportunity for you to get started in Calgary. Whether you're interested in volunteering in your community, starting your own small business, or joining one of those head offices, there's a place for you to get involved and kind of make your mark. And that's part of what makes Calgary such an exciting place to live for a young person right now. There's opportunities to get involved and get started, no matter what that looks like for you. So we can zoom in or kind of think a little bit more about Calgary beyond just those statistics and accolades. Calgary is also home to a really vibrant and passionate community. Places like Inglewood or Kensington are connected through the rest of our city with these really beautiful local businesses like coffee shops, bookstores, record stores. Pictured here, this sort of red contraption is, of course, the Peace Bridge, which spans the Bow River. You can see some people rafting underneath it, which is, of course, connected to the Calgary sort of downtown core. Pictured on the left there is the Calgary Public Library. You can kind of see in that bottom left corner what I think sort of unites this whole image and all these different things are showing here is that C train or Calgary Transit, which is just kind of introducing you to some of those really great perks of the University of Calgary because U of C students get to access Calgary Transit for free whenever they want. It's part of your tuition, so you can hop on a train and check out any of the things in this photo really easily because there's a LRT station on the University of Calgary campus, which just makes it really accessible for someone who's a student. Maybe you don't have a car or whatever your situation is. It's going to be easy to get around Calgary and sort of explore a little bit more. So this is kind of a more stylized rendering of the University of Calgary campus. This was actually done by one of our students. It's nice to know that despite the fact that I mentioned earlier that it is the size of or at least it has its own postal code, it's pretty easy to walk. From the top there where it says the Schulich kind of complex down to that red arch near the Arts Parkade is about a 15-minute walk. So it's actually really easy to get around campus no matter what time of year, whether you're walking outside or you're taking advantage of our underground heated tunnels, which makes it really easy to stay warm during some of those colder winter months there. It's easy to get access to anything you need to live kind of your normal day-to-day life on the U of C campus, whether you're going to the gym at the Kinesiology Complex, you're getting lunch at the MacEwan Student Center, you're studying at the TFDL or Taylor Family Digital Library, or you're hopping on the LRT to check out a different part of campus. It's really well connected, and it's kind of like a city within a city is the way we like to think about it. So, kind of beyond just the buildings and different kind of structures at the University of Calgary, we also have some really great ways for students to get active, whether it's through the Olympic Oval, which is actually trademarked as the world's fastest ice because of the number of world records that have been set and broken there. Or it's the Outdoor Center, which has access to over 10,000 pieces of equipment for students to rent at a discount whenever they want. So if you're interested in skiing, hiking, snowshoeing, whatever it might be, it's going to be pretty easy to get started and check that out through the Outdoor Center at the University of Calgary. If you're interested in any of those things but want to do them with friends, maybe you want to meet new people or kind of get involved in them with your friends already, you could join any one of our 400 plus student clubs at the University of Calgary, whether that's hiking, snowshoeing, photography, anime, cosplay, whatever it might be, there's almost certainly a club for that at the University of Calgary. I think it's also nice if for whatever reason there's some sort of niche interest you might have and there isn't a club for that yet. I can assure you, you can make a club for that, and it's a really rewarding experience. Just ask Kaylee. They are also involved in a club at the University of Calgary. Sorry to put you on blast, Kaylee, but yeah, it's a great opportunity to get some really good leadership experience and get to also make a lot of new friends and get skills that are going to be useful to you throughout your rest of your like life and your career, which is yeah, something that's really important to be thinking about during your undergrad. At least I think. So, if you're interested in getting active in a more literal sense at the University of Calgary, there's a lot of great opportunities. I already mentioned the Olympic Oval and the Outdoor Center. Our fitness center is also an excellent space. We have access to a lot of those kind of classic weightlifting equipment, whether it's machines, free weights, Olympic weightlifting platforms. In the upstairs, there's a running track. There's even fun things you can get involved with, like recreational and intramural sports, which is a great way to meet people and kind of play a fun sport together. And what's great about this is almost all of this stuff here is accessible for free with your uni card, or kind of the same way where you just show your uni card to get onto the train. You can also just show it here and you can get into, let's say, the Racket Center for free, which is a really great resource to take advantage of as a U of C student. If you're like me, though, and you kind of prefer to watch sports rather than play them sometimes, go Blue Jays. You can also check out the University of Calgary Dinos, which is, of course, our sports team. Whether you're interested in baseball or you're interested in rugby or you want to watch basketball, whatever it might be, there's a lot of cool opportunities to watch these teams for free in the same way that you show your uni card to get into the Racket Center or to get on the bus. You can show it to see a Dinos game for free. Check out a basketball game or a football game on a Thursday evening is pretty fun. If you yourself are interested in joining one of these teams, take a moment to scan that QR code there, and that can get you in touch with our coaches and our recruiters and kind of get you on the right pathway to becoming a Dino yourself. I know that I think something like 36 University of Calgary alumni have gone on to become, or basically alumni are former students, but have gone on to become Olympic medalists. So these really are world-class athletes performing, and you can watch them or become one of them yourself, which is really exciting. So, while the University of Calgary, or just Calgary in general, has the number two lowest cost of living in Canada, we also have some really great options for living on campus, which also make it really easy to take advantage of all those different resources I just mentioned. Whether you're checking out the fitness center, whether you're studying, whether you're going to McEwen Student Center for lunch, whatever it might be, it's great to be on campus and be close to all of the action. The most important details here are that first year residence guarantee. So, if you apply by May 1st, you're guaranteed a spot on campus. You're mostly going to be in those double or single rooms in your first year. Those double rooms, you can choose to stay with, let's say, like a friend or something like that if you know someone going to the U of C. Otherwise, you can fill out a survey, and that'll make sure you're paired up with someone who has sort of similar lifestyle and behavior as you. So if you're a night owl, you don't get paired with a morning person, that sort of thing. We also have that all you care to eat meal plan, which is just there to make sure that students, aren't only eating ramen during their first year. You're getting sort of a nice varied diet through the dining center. It can cater to all sorts of dietary restrictions, whether it's halal, vegetarian, or gluten-free. There's going to be options for you there, which is nice to know. And it's all you care to eat, so you can check in as many times as you want throughout the day and enjoy a really nutritious meal, which is curated every week by a professional chef, which is pretty cool. So, when students are on campus, we have a lot of supports to make sure they're succeeding there, going back to that sort of 95% undergraduate retention rate, whether it's something like the Center for Career and Personal Development, which sorts of helps you understand your skills and connect them with employers, or our student wellness services, which makes sure that students are doing well, not just academically, but also physically and mentally by providing them with access to a registered dietitian, counseling, as well as helping them get access to things like the dentist on campus or stuff like that. There's a lot of good resources to support students, and it's good to know that they're there for you during your undergrad. So now we can think a little bit more about the different academic opportunities at the University of Calgary. We encourage a lot of research excellence through the U of C. Going back to that sort of 580 or yeah, $588.5 million of research revenue that goes towards things like our quantum labs, which are involved in the teleportation of qubits over 44 kilometers using photons, which maybe if you're interested in quantum science, you might know what those words mean, but I certainly don't, but sounds really cool. The Human Performance Lab is actually one of the only schools outside of the United States to work with the NFL on concussion research. If you've ever worn Adidas or Puma shoes, you can thank the UFC for that because we designed their shoes for them. So they're always doing really cool cutting edge research. And that's something you can join yourself with the Pure Awards, which offer up to $7,500 for undergraduate students, just like yourself or what you will become if you join the UFC, to do their own research, which is a really exciting and unique opportunity for students there. I also mentioned a little bit earlier that student Emily, who'd gotten to do a research internship partnered with NASA, that was a work integrated learning opportunity where she got to actually be paid to do that research, which is really exciting. So if you're a co-op student, that would look like in arts or like someone in arts or commerce or engineering or science. Yeah, you'd be doing what is called a co-op, which is normally like 4 to 16 months. You get paid, and it's a great opportunity to make connections and sort of gain skills that are going to be useful for you throughout your career. One of my friends just finished his engineering degree. He did an internship as part of that, and he was immediately rehired back at the same firm that he did his internship. So that was a really great opportunity for him to sort of meet new people, as well as make connections that were going to be useful to him. And again, goes back to that 96.3% after graduate employment rate, which I was talking about at the beginning of the presentation. So, there's also a lot of great opportunities to study abroad at the University of Calgary. One of our main goals actually is for half of all of our students to have some sort of international or global learning opportunity, whether that's the Geology Field School in Hawaii, or one of my friends actually just finished a 6 month semester abroad in the Netherlands. We have over 200 partners worldwide who you can take programs with, whether it's in Europe, Asia, South America, Australia. Whatever it is, it works really well because the whole time you're going to be paying UCalgary tuition and fees when you're studying abroad, which just makes it you're not like paying like an exorbitantly higher rate, and you're also completing credits towards the completion of a degree, which is really nice to know that you're not taking a break or paying a lot more. You just get to study in a different part of the world and still enjoy all the benefits of being at the University of Calgary, which is really exciting. Excuse me. So we have over or around 15 different faculties at the University of Calgary, which ranges everything from the School of Architecture and Planning and Landscape to the Faculty of Social Work. There's a lot of really exciting programs that can give you a really diverse array of experiences and skills that are going to be useful no matter what field you're interested in, and a lot of flexibility there. So if these are different things you're curious about, or if there's specific questions you have about programs, you can either ask me or Kaylee a question right now or after the kind of webinar is done, or you can get in touch with us through some of the QR codes I'm going to give you in a bit. But it's cool to know that these are all of our different programs and opportunities for learning in Calgary. So you might be interested in further kind of customizing your experience. Maybe you're interested in something like a combined degree, which is an opportunity to study basically two majors at once, which is really cool. At the end of your degree, you really get to demonstrate your expertise and knowledge in a wide variety of areas. Things like declaring a minor or embedded certificates are similar to that, where you're going to be able to basically demonstrate your expertise in a certain area, just to a slightly lesser extent than you would for a combined degree, but still a really interesting option there. So now we can start to talk about the admission process a little bit more, which is actually something that started right now. So admission is competitive, meaning we're taking students with the highest kind of averages overall. We're taking those students first when they're applying to programs. But those averages that they have are based on 5 faculty-specific subjects. For example, the requirements you would need for engineering are going to be different than the requirements you would need for nursing. Basically, we're looking for 5 courses on your high school transcript that you've completed by the end of grade 12. That might be, normally it's going to be something like English 30-1, English math or English language arts 30-1. So maybe it'll be math 30-1, bio 30, chemistry 30, and then what's called an approved course or option. That could be something like social studies or phys ed. But across those 5, we're going to be taking the average of those 5 to find what your competitive admission average is, and then make a decision about your application based on that. So it's just good to know that we're only looking at those 5. We're not looking at every grade you got throughout your grade 12 or grade 11. We're only looking at those 5. During the early application period, which is actually right now, a lot of students won't have all 5 courses done, or that many grade 12 courses done. So we'll be looking at grade 11 courses, 4 of those, which you can find online or through a University of Calgary viewbook, which I can share with you once the webinar is complete here. So some of those programs also require what's called supplemental requirements or supplemental applications. So Bachelor of Health Sciences and Social Work require that, as well as some of the fine arts programs as well. These are kind of what those competitive admission averages are looking like right now. I kind of just explained how we calculate those. So for example, if you were interested in engineering, for that common first year to join that, you need to be somewhere in the mid 80s. So across those 5 courses, you would need somewhere in the 80s, like 85% and above, to sort of be considered in that admissible range, which is good to know. So if you are interested in submitting an application, you like everything I'm saying so far, you can go to Apply Alberta, and through that you'll be able to select 2 choices. So your first choice should be a program that you're really passionate about, the one you want to get into the most, and also the most competitive of those programs. And then that second choice should be like a good backup option. Maybe it's a bit less competitive, maybe it's a bit easier to get access to, but it's still sort of similar, has some similar programming, and maybe some similar options later on down in the world of the kind of careers or the professional world. So you'll apply through online through Apply Alberta. Your application fee for those of us with Canadian credentials will be 125 Canadian. And then after that, you'll get access to a website called your Student Center, which will give you something called a to-do list, which will ask for some required documents. Mostly transcripts are what we are going to be looking for. And those transcripts we're going to need by around March 15th for initial ones, which you can get through your high school. And then August 1st for those official ones, which you actually, if you're an Alberta student, we'll source for you automatically through Apply Alberta, which is it's a really easy process there, very straightforward. And if you ever have any questions, you can always get in touch with us or our admissions team, and they'll help you figure it out. But it's a pretty straightforward process there, thankfully. So I think this is a good time. I always like to highlight our student access process, which just sort of acknowledges that everyone is sort of a different trajectory or pathway to the university or sort of post-secondary education. Maybe during high school, you had to take care of your siblings. Maybe you had a really long commute to school. Maybe you had to work during high school. For any of those reasons, you might not have been able to study as much as you would like to, or the way that you think would reflect you as a learner. So this just provides you the option to provide a personal statement, a little bit more about yourself for admissions team, so they can get sort of a better sense of you as a learner and make a more informed decision, and sometimes offer an acceptance or an admission where they might not have been able to otherwise. So it's a great option and something that I think is definitely worth looking into if you think it makes sense for you. If you're curious about that, you can always ask me or Kaylee, or check out that QR code to learn more. We also have a lot of great indigenous pathways to university there. There's sort of like 3 different tiers there, or 3 different branching paths that kind of provide different levels of accessibility to our students. If this is something you think makes sense for you or you'd like to learn more about, again, feel free to get in touch with us or get in touch with that indigenous admission process QR code right in front of you there, which is good to know about. So let's say you took all my advice and you actually submitted an application and you got an offer, you would be receiving what's called a conditional offer of admission. So at that point, we're basically just saving a spot for you. And at that point in time, you just need to maintain your competitive average, or basically whatever you applied with or higher. You'll get an exact number through your student center later, but it's kind of a good idea to be in that same range. You need to complete all those required courses that I mentioned earlier. You need to submit all those outstanding documents, mostly transcripts, and then graduate from high school, which is always a good idea. It's going to kind of set you up for success there. So I just spent a lot of time talking about our application and admissions process. So really quickly here, I'm going to summarize what I talked about and sort of what you should have in mind as you're thinking about the application process. So that first step is research different programs and program requirements. You can do that by getting in touch with someone like me through some of our online access portals, or you can look in a view book, talk to some people you know, see what kind of programs make sense for you and what the requirements are, and make sure you have them or you're taking the classes to get into those programs. Then submit an application on our website or on the Apply Alberta website from starting in October 1st. So you actually can apply right now, which is exciting. Pay that application fee. Upload your documents to the Student Center by around March 15th. Then you can apply for awards. I'll talk about this in a little bit, but you can apply for awards around December and March 1st. Then regularly check that Student Center website for any updates on your to-do list or changes in status. If you're interested in living on campus, submit an application to live there by May 1st. And then hopefully, congratulations, accept your offer, pay your deposit, and start your classes in September, which students have already been, they've been hard at work here for about a month and a half or over a half of a month now, which is pretty exciting. So now is a good time to start thinking about tuition and fees, especially if you did get that sort of conditional offer or were kind of thinking about that application process. So it's good to know that these costs that are listed on this page here are for your first year. They're not just for your first semester, they're from September to April. So the domestic tuition is between $7,000 and $9,000 right now. General fees, books, and supplies, that can vary a bit. Most of that actually covers the cost of a laptop, which we just expect our students to have a laptop in order to be able to complete the program requirements. But things like books can vary a lot. Some profs want you to buy 2 textbooks, some don't want you to buy a textbook at all. And then finally, there's those residence and meal plan expenses, where maybe you're interested in living on residence, maybe not. It's a really useful resource there, that undergraduate student cost estimator in the bottom right-hand corner right in front of you. It's a great idea to scan that because it can give you a really exact sense of what your numbers are going to look like. So maybe if you're someone who wants to do kinesiology and live on campus and have a meal plan, you can scan that and get an exact sense of what your tuition is going to look like, which is just a great resource to have to help you make those decisions about where makes sense for you as a university student. So I like to follow up this slide because I know some of those numbers can be pretty daunting, especially at this stage in your life. So I like to sort of highlight the different financial supports we have to offset those costs for students. I like this slide a lot because in the past when I've done this presentation, it was about 25% of entering students received a bursary or a scholarship of some sort, and only $20 million was paid out. So in the year since then, it's up to 35% and $22 million, which to me really says that this is a very accessible resource and they're becoming more accessible. You could absolutely get access to things like our high school entrance awards, which are really easy. It's basically like a 15-minute yes or no checklist to see what you're eligible for. Our automatic awards are basically if you have a 95% admission average, you're automatically eligible for $5,000. Those prestige awards are kind of like a few essay questions. They can take up to a few hours to complete, but those can get you up to $25,000 a year over multiple years, which can get you kind of really set you up for success there with your tuition and your sort of university costs. So there's some really great different options here. These are our high school entrance awards, just zooming in on them a little bit, just to give you a sense of what they look like. Things like our First Generation Scholars Program is for students who are first in their family to attend post-secondary, or for students whose parents haven't completed post-secondary, which is a really great opportunity. Things like Building on the Vision Scholarship are just for students who contribute to their school and community. There's a lot of different options here that might make sense for you. So before I wrap up here and we can all get on with our nights, I'm going to quickly summarize some of those important dates I just mentioned. So October 1st is when that application opened. So you can actually submit an application even right now, which is pretty exciting. Beyond that, March 1st is when that admission application deadline closes. So please don't be one of those people, emailing us on March 3rd being like, oh, can I still apply? Because it feels pretty bad to have to say no to them. And then, of course, June 30th is when all your high school courses that you need for admission should be completed by. And then around August 1st and 30th is when you're going to want to make sure that we've received your final official transcript so we can make a proper assessment of you and your grades. Before I wrap up, though, I do want to quickly highlight that open house is this weekend, this Saturday, October 25th. So if you happen to be in Calgary, this is a really great opportunity to get to learn more about our programs as well as the campus. You can go on a campus tour led by someone just like me, or you can talk to faculty members if you're interested in a certain program and you want to know, what am I going to study and what kind of jobs are there? What is this experience like? You can actually talk to professors from that faculty and they can kind of help you understand what it is they teach and what you can learn there. It's a really great opportunity. I really encourage you to check this out. And yeah, you can scan that QR code to register there. It's going to be a lot of fun for everyone involved. So yeah, hopefully I can see some of your faces there, which would be pretty exciting. If anyone else has any other questions or concerns, we can help answer some of them now. But for that, at least that's kind of all I have for you there. And yeah, thanks for bearing with me through some of those technical issues there. I apologize, but I appreciate that you all showed up and listened to me talk at you. So thank you very much. And yeah, hopefully have a great night.